You ask the questions based on what you see in your OnBase system, in your environment, or using other Hyland products. And we try to use the best that we can. We try to use the scientific method to hopefully give you more clarity and give you an answer to those questions. I have Steve here again today.
I'm the Director of Solutions Architecture at Datum Evolve.
And our question today is right up Steve's alley. It has to do with best practices. So Steve, if best practice is not to use system work in your queues, why is it there to begin with? And why can't I use them? Hopefully we'll have the answers and more clarity to that question. This is Crash Test. System work, Steve. Everyone tells me, especially in initial queue, try to stay away from putting any logic in system work.
Absolutely.
Why?
I'll start by admitting that sometimes I break my own rule. Try not to, but I'm very strict stance against using system work in the initial queue because it is a very direct impact on the user experience. When a user submits a document and it goes to workflow, or even when your dip processes or other ingestion processes commit a document into OnBase, that runs on the thread of the user, which then slows down their experience. Will they notice one little task or one little action? No, but you have to worry about like a daisy chain effect, especially if you transition out of system work to another queue, and then that queue has system work, and it just builds up over time. It's something you may not notice. You know, it's kind of like boiling the frog. Your system will just start feeling slower and slower without knowing one key reason why.
So system work is okay, as long as there's thought that goes into it. Is that so you have to have an understanding of the architecture within all of the life cycles, because I feel like system work, you know, when we isolate it down, when we're in this little silo of what it is that we're building, we think it's okay. But what we don't think about is that any process, so a dip, committing a document, that system work then hijacks the processing for that. So it's really important. So if you have a dip that runs on 5,000 documents and it's all committed and it's all going into the system work, and your system work happens to have, let's say, a Unity script or something that's a heavy processing logic in there, your dip is going to run slower.
It is. And I mean, there's also the little kicker that if for some reason something breaks, the logic is wrong, you just have a system issue. When that system work fails, it's not going to rerun. Those documents are going to get stuck in there until an admin or a user comes in and manually reruns that system work again. From
a troubleshooting standpoint as well, you know, let's say someone now in another lifecycle creates a transition into that queue, and it is an ad hoc task, and something within your system work fails, it's now going to throw the bug message or the error message to that user. You're going in and troubleshooting, and you're looking at your life cycle, and you're like, everything looks good in my life cycle. It's kind of a giant leap for you then to go into another life cycle and evaluate the system work in that other life cycle to see whether or not that's what's causing the issue.
Exactly.
So I think what we're saying in general, before we even get into testing or being able to show this, is that just think about it. Use your brain. You don't want to be a frog in boiling water.
Exactly. And a lot of time you're going to be breaking the rule on one of two best practices, right? Best practice, don't have system work. But if you need fast turnaround times, another best practice is don't set your workflow timers to 1 minute. So then you're kind of choosing the lesser of two evils, or which one works better in this case. It's a reason it's a best practice and not a rule.
Yeah. So we're gonna do what we don't really recommend, and we're gonna jam a bunch of stuff into system work, right, Steve?
Just to make it seem more realistic, why would you use system work, or why would someone have thought system work was necessary over a timer? Maybe you have something that reaches out to a web service and you need to be almost instant on that feedback. A document was uploaded, go tell our secondary system to display it because you have a customer working in a screen. Or a pretty common one, getting less common, is if you have like a print queue system. You scan in, sign a document, something of that nature, and you need to print it out for someone who's standing right in front of you. You don't want to wait 1 to 5 minutes. You want to hit the button and it scans or prints. You don't want to stare at a printer for 5 minutes, awkwardly making that eye contact and small talk with a client waiting on a printout.
Steve is our builder today, so he's gonna go through and he's going to kind of show us or set up an example, our testing example of how he's going to jam system work.
All right, I'll take over and start building. Since a throwback to our previous crash tests, we don't have any cat facts this time, so I'm starting my screen with these adorable baby foxes, bringing it into the canine world for you. So I'm going to open Studio here and go into our crash test system work lifecycle. I've already got it checked out, and here we are in the system work. I label all my Unity script-based tasks Unity. Some people use script, US. I don't know if there's really a super standard on that, but that kind of hangs around back from when there used to be VB scripts and stuff that were more frequent. Maybe I could just change over to script. It's not necessary anymore.
Oh yeah, back in the day, we forget that there used to be VB scripts in our system, and then everyone had to go through conversions.
So I'm going to use this hyper-realistic real-life script of sleep script.
Script.
Yep, it's just a sleep script.
Can you call it something better, like traffic jam script? Or so what does the script do?
It does exactly what it says. It sleeps for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Now, this seems like a stupid test. Who would do this? But this is mimicking reaching out to a web service or trying to do a print queue or even task lists full of high performance impacting rules and actions,
task lists, yep.
Related documents, go update 100 related documents. This can apply to any of those scenarios. We're just trying to amplify it a little bit and just say sleep for 60 seconds to mimic any of those scenarios.
And that's another good thing to think about, is that right now, when someone's building out a solution, it might not seem like a big deal to cram everything in the system work of your initial queue or system work of another queue, but that is the first logic that gets executed. And what happens when your solution needs to be enhanced? You need to add on additional logic, and you're struggling to find a place where it happens before that original system work. The only place that you can put it now is, again, in your system work. And then that logic now then might become more complex and a little bit more intensive on the database and cause performance issues. So
exactly. I mean, the world of REST API calls is just exploding right now. And as you develop it or you develop it in a test system, the response to those might be really quick. As the other system grows, nothing related to your OnBase, those times could start to slow down as they get more data. So you could have a slow creeping performance issue from an outside system that you have no vision into. And you look at a system work you put in a year ago and they say, well, nothing changed. It's not our fault. It's not your fault, but you could do it better.
And this is a hot button issue for Steve, since he did spend a few years in the performance team of Hyland. Are you done with I was going to put together a quick Unity form I wanted to show, because the other thing that I wanted to mention, we're working in 25.1.2, right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah. The latest build as of today.
Yeah. So we're working in OnBase 25. So I wanted to show you, as I create this Unity form that we're going to use, that I'm going to ingest, that's going to hit our traffic jam. This checkbox, so there is optimization for different device sizes. This is checked by default. If you optimize your Unity form, it does restrict what you can do inside of it design-wise from panels and multi-instance keyword groups, etc. But I just wanted the little quick tip of today is to make sure that when you create a Unity form template that you uncheck that box unless you want that optimization. So I'm just going to add one keyword to this, publish it. And then, is your cache reset? I'm going to relaunch.
Last thing I need to do is add that document type to the lifecycle.
Okay.
I'm going to do, that's the test Unity form you said? Test Unity form?
Yep.
I'm going to save and reset the cache. And there you go.
All right. So I'm going to go in now to the Unity client and we're going to see. So our hypothesis is that the system work is going to jam it. So we're going to be waiting a little bit.
Yes, this is the exact
How many
moment.
seconds exactly are we waiting?
I put 30 seconds on there, so it should be pretty drastic, but this will really show from the user's point of view how it feels as that system work starts to add up.
All right. So I'm in here. I'm going to go to forms, test Unity form. Just going to add a date. It'll be today, April 10th. And I'm going to submit and we're going to see what happens. Form is being saved. Can I navigate out? Nope. It is hijacked. So now we sit for 30 seconds and what do we do?
I guess go on another coffee break, talk to our coworkers.
I'm one pissed off user right now if I'm submitting the form and it's just sitting here. The form is being saved.
You could even be a customer submitting an online form and you're hitting this button wondering what's happening. Did it even save? Now you're submitting 3 of those forms because it was weird or even timed out.
All right. Do I want to create a new form? No, because that took a little bit. All right. So now that is in workflow, we see that kind of took some time. Proves what we were saying about it is that you don't know, but it's hooked. But now what I'd like to do is maybe a transition. So let's start off in one life cycle and build out a transition task to your life cycle. So let's use the crash test scope property bag because I know that we already have test documents in there. Can you throw in an ad hoc in there that transitions it to your queue and we'll see what happens. Maybe throw up a message at the end of it that says, aha. So this is for that real world scenario where we don't know. We're in another life cycle. Someone has just put in, it's a document that might be in the wrong life cycle or needs additional work to be done on it in another life cycle. So it's very common that you transition between the two. So Steve's going to throw in the traffic jam and we're going to pretend to be, I'll start as a happy user. I'm coming into OnBase. Everything works. I've been doing my thing. Unless, I mean, are there people out there that really enjoy getting into traffic jams? I don't know.
It's going to say most government workers, but I don't want to make half of our clients angry.
Exactly. So while Steve is putting the finishing touches on that, I wanted to say that this video is sponsored by Datum Evolve. So if you have any additional questions about your OnBase system, whether or not there's issues that you're hitting, or you just need some expert advice or consulting, or just someone to throw ideas off of, we're here. So reach out to us. All the information is going to be in the description of this video. And another thing is that if you like these series, if you like what we're doing here, the best way that you can say, hey, you guys are doing a great job is not only to comment, but to also subscribe. That way you will get notifications the instant that a new crash test or a snack bites, the instant that we publish it. So, all right, you ready?
We're ready.
All right, I should have taken that time to relaunch my client, but I didn't. So now I'm going to exit. I'm going to jump back in, type my name correctly. And I'm going into crash test scope property bag, right? Is that the life cycle? Yeah, no. The one with crash test in the front of it. We have a lot of life cycles. Okay. All right, so I'm going to send this document. I'm a happy user. Everything's been going great for me today. So happy. I got a promotion. I got a raise. Everything is great. I'm coming into the system. Everything's been working for me. I'm going to hit this button. Uh-oh, blue bar.
I hope your raise was hourly.
I'm now watching a blue bar and I'm wondering what's going on. Why is this system? There has to be, hold on. Let me call tech support. Hey, tech support? Yeah, I just keep seeing a blue bar. How long has it been going for? About 20 seconds. Oh no, it just went away. and it now has a message. I hope you enjoy your nap. All right. So I think that's enough tests for us to be able to show what we're talking about. And are there any thoughts about what we tested? Anything that can help us draw a conclusion to what we've seen today?
I mean, the first question you should ask yourself is, does it have to be system work? Is there any other way? Can it be a timer? Really, it's the first step against it. Can it be a timer? Even if it has to be a 1 minute timer, can it be a 5? You want to run it as infrequently as possible. And you definitely want to get it off of your user session.
Yeah.
This, if this was tied to a dip, that would suck. The process would take a lot longer.
Anything, a scan queue, like anything that comes in, like you saw, like even a user submitting,
For me, priority one is if it's tied to a user clicking a button, 100% try to keep it off of it. It's user experience to me is the most important key, because, if your users feel like it's slow, then they start to dislike just OnBase in general. And then that
the frustration does come with the system as a whole.
Yeah. That falls back on your team after it falls back on the system. And then it falls back on your resellers and your vendors. So it just goes down the whole line of everybody being angry. So just try to avoid it.
So I know that we sound like broken records, but again, the most important thing is to think about the architecture of the entire environment as a whole. There are cases where system work is good. One example I had is when you're trying to capture the user that submitted the work. That is okay in initial work in the system work of the initial queue. Do you have any other scenarios where you'd say, yeah, this is a perfect scenario for system work?
Yeah, that is the best example to me, is catching the timestamp or the user submitted. In the medium okay area, if you got to update one keyword or put a note on there, something small, something tiny, I'm not going to come in and start, bad talking the system solution because it's got one or two. Especially if it's something where you're trying to get high response times on reporting or that instant feedback for a client.
What about routing in system work?
I will typically put routing in system work if it's very high level.
But what happens if it routes to a queue that now has additional system work, Steve?
Yeah, but those ones should not have system work.
Okay.
Those should be on a timer because it's not that primary life cycle at that point. But again, there's always an exception, as you said. But if the lifecycle set up for 3 different document types and each one goes to a different queue based off of the document type or based off of one keyword value, sure. Yep. It's not the end of the world. But
as long as you keep in mind that is all being processed by what brings it in.
And I do say it's okay. I'm saying it's okay. But at the same time, is there a reason that couldn't be on a 1 or 5 minute timer?
I don't know. Well, I don't see any scenario with routing. Well, routing. So I just wanted to say thank you, Steve, for giving us your wisdom and also clarifying on a giant pet peeve that you have when it comes to best practices. Remember, if you send us a question or a scenario that we then use on an episode of Crash Test, if we end up testing it, we're going to send you, I know you've been admiring it and you've been looking at, man, that's a really cool hoodie. That company's just got some really cool stuff. We will send it to you, and on the sleeve it says crash tested, so you become official. You have been crash tested.
You're not going to call him a crash test dummy?
No,
I'll be the dummy. It's okay.
That is all.
Awesome.
Thank you.